The 2025 budget, themed Resetting the Economy for the Ghana We Want, outlines ambitious policies, including abolishing some taxes, introducing a 24-hour economy, increasing social interventions, and a renewed focus on debt restructuring and fiscal responsibility. However, questions remain about its feasibility, impact on regional development, and how Parliament will ensure oversight. In this edition of Hot Issues, we ask, are we on course for the Ghana we want? I am Keminni Amanor, and I sit down with a member of Parliament's Finance Committee. He's a member of Parliament's Finance Committee. On a large scale, he represents the northern part of the country. In this edition, we go beyond the figures and examine whether this budget truly meets the needs of ordinary Ghanaians, everyday people like you and me, but particularly those in the north, and how Parliament can ensure it is implemented effectively. My next guest is Attah Issah, Member of Parliament for Sagnerigu.
Above with D.
Honorable, you're welcome to Hot Issues.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I want to start off with the post-budget workshops ongoing in Parliament. What's your assessment of how, how the questioning, the presentations are going so far? What are you learning? What new are you learning?
Okay, so let me say good afternoon to our viewers, especially to the people of Sagnerigu. So after the budget presentation, the Speaker made a referral for the post-budget conference. If you know, annually, after a budget is presented, you normally go out of Accra so that various sector ministers, departments, and agencies will come and give sectoral updates. This time around, as part of our cost-cutting measures, we are doing it inside the chamber. So we started off yesterday with the finance minister and all agencies under the Ministry of Finance to give us the overall fiscal outlook. And today, we are taking education, health, energy, and other sectors. So it's supposed to be a 3-day workshop, but we are trying as much as possible to finish everything today. Now, for the first time, if you observe, the finance minister delivered the shortest budget presentation in the history, 1 hour 40-something minutes. Oftentimes, because of our composite budgeting regime under Section 23, this time round, he gave more of the work to the sector ministers. So you see that more questions are rather coming at the post-budget conference. Because if you look at the main budget, it just gives the broad figures. So it is at the sector ministerial update level that you can see the specific items and measures that the government is putting in place. So far, we are all learning more. I remember, for example, if you look at the Office of the Government Machinery, it had an allocation of 2.7 billion for compensation. So people had to bring it up on the floor of Parliament, and answers were given to that. So it's given us more clearer picture.
What were some of the answers you got?
Some of the answers, for example, was one, the realignment of the Ministry of Information. Prior to the coming of the NDC government, there was a ministry on its own, Ministry of Information. Now it has been added to the Office of President. Also, Ministry of National Security was a standalone ministry with its own budget. Now it has been added to the Office of the Government Machinery. Then there are other 32 agencies that fall under the Office of the President. So these were some of the
clarifications that you got.
Yeah.
Also during the workshop yesterday, another issue came up, and while all the the presenters there lauded or commended the budget, they had questions, particularly about the taxes that were being removed.
Yes.
Especially the bet tax.
Yes.
There are those who have raised questions about why bet tax in particular will be removed. Where do you sit on that for your people?
So for me, if you look at even in the UK, betting and lotteries are a major source of revenue for UK, Canada, and other countries. They've even used portions of those tax revenues that they generate to finance healthcare and education. So I don't particularly see anything wrong with fulfilling your social contract you made with the Ghanaian people. Prior to the election, if you were following, we had made it abundantly clear. And in this case, both parties agreed on this particular tax handle to be abolished. The MPP said they will remove the 10% withholding tax on betting, and this also promised the same thing. So the reason is this. If you look at the unemployment rate and the general economic hardship for our people, it is quite insensitive to burden them with further taxes. You were ordinarily, if you look at Article 36, you were ordinarily supposed to provide avenues for them to improve their economic well-being and also maximize their welfare. But over the years, you realize that a lot of difficulties have been... Look, Ghana Living Standard Survey 8, 2023, projected 2.3 million Ghanaians could not afford 3 square meals a day. So you look at all these fiscal difficulties that we have as a country, and people are subjected to so much hardship. So this is a pro-poor measure that seeks to uplift the condition of our people. In a way, we didn't just remove it. We must commend the finance minister for some of this financial ring-fencing and re-engineering. For example, If you have a tax refund account that you dedicate 6% of your tax revenue into an account sitting there for the payment of tax refunds, and over the last 8 years, consistently, you have only been able to apply 43% of the total tax revenue that is dedicated for refunds. The remainder, where does it go to? So the finance minister is saying that when you scrap the betting tax, that's expected to generate in 2025 only 180 million Ghana cedis. Yet you have, out of the 29 billion that we raised from the tax refund account, only 12 billion was used. So you have enough to offset the revenue shortfalls that you would have get as a result of the scrapping the tax, but at the same time pushing the Ghanaian people.
But also, well, and we'll come back to the tax issue, but let's look at the tax refund. One of the presenters there had also indicated that the government cannot rely on tax refunds as a source of revenue. No, you see, that people, you know, the tax refunds will not be used and that it will become a source of revenue to be re-injected into the economy.
So let me tell you why it is a legitimate source. First of all, we are trying to reform the VAT regime. If you look at the sources of tax refunds, it is normally not on direct income taxes, because you working here, your payroll will indicate how much you earn in basic salary, how much you are supposed to pay to government as in the form of income tax. So oftentimes, the distortions come from the VAT regime, where, because at every value stage, you need to impose a value-added tax on it. So we want to reform this whole idea of the value-added tax. Right. First of all, by abolishing the flat rate regime. Second, removal of the double taxation of GET fund and then the National Health Insurance Levy. For example, you decouple NHI and then you decouple GET fund. Now, in calculating the 2.5% on any value-added good, what they simply do is that they first of all charge the NHI, they charge it on the value of the product, then get an amount, and then charge the 2% on GET fund. Meanwhile, you can't charge tax on tax. So it is as a result of the import-output VAT regime that occasions refunds. Now, when you are reforming such sector, it tells you that VAT refunds will significantly drop. So the point is not to, this is a proportion of your tax revenue dedicated for a source, an item called a refund. And you are reforming your tax regime, so it means that the VAT, the refunds will come down. So if it comes down, naturally, what do? You ring-fence those budget, we call something in public sector environment. You just move it from there to support your budget. That's simply what he has done.
I see. So let's come back to the issue of the bet tax. Yeah. If you have admitted that in places like the UK and US, portions of winnings are used for developmental projects in those countries, and you have the opportunity to do same here, but you say that, no, we won't do that. It sounds populist, so because the young men are, you know, happy about it.
So let me explain it for you. Betting is an elastic commodity, meaning that people can do away with betting.
Right.
One, we are of the view that government, through the Gaming Commission, already taxed 25% corporate income tax on all betting companies. You are expected to generate in the year 2025 180 million Ghana cedis from the betting tax. When people reduce their patronage of the betting services, where do you get your revenue from?
Is there any evidence to show that there was reductions?
Yes. Okay. And I'll prove it. In October 2024, the GRA came to tell us that since the introduction of the betting tax, they generated only 15 million Ghana cedis at a peak period of the season. So what it tells you is that people found other alternative use of their disposable incomes rather than betting.
There could be many reasons. So people are not winning enough.
So you know the verdict on a policy handle based on its general acceptability level. Go out there and ask the average Ghanaian. People are very happy about this decision. In my constituency, when we're campaigning, one of the things when you mention the youth get excited is this whole idea of the betting tax. And let me give you an example. You win an amount of 30,000 Ghana cedis. Government is supposed to just take 3,000 cedis for no work done. the platform
But
was...
it's the same in the UK and US.
No. So,
I mean, in the US,
so in the US, what they do is that they provide incentives for the people to encourage betting. Then they increase the corporate income tax of those companies. If the idea was the tax element goes to the platforms and not the final consumer, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But increased participation, when the disposable income of people are increased, for example, the scrapping of this e-levy and the betting tax increases disposable income of people. Once they have enough revenue, they can bet. And if they bet, the volumes of transactions in the betting company will increase for you to get the same amount through the corporate income tax.
Is the morality factor a consideration in taking this decision?
Not at all. Not at all.
Why
I've
not?
already stated that the concept of governance in Article 36 says that you must make everything possible to improve the welfare of your people. Ghana, we are already burdened with several taxes. This is one way of cushioning the average Ghanaian. And I'm saying that...
encouraging them to bet is one way of cushioning the people.
Look,
you
are rather arguing moral.
And that's what I'm asking.
I'm
that's
not
because and I want us to focus on the people of the north, because a lot of focus has been on the people on the south.
Yes.
We know back in 2017 there were issues of gambling in the north.
Yes.
We still have those issues even up till now.
Yes.
And so if you are representing those people in parliament,
yes,
and you say that, well, betting is a way of cushioning the people, and so you allow them to bet, you are encouraging the problem with gambling that we have been trying to solve.
Yes. So I don't think betting necessarily, I don't want to go through religion. I'm doing fiscal analysis. I'm doing economic analysis. And I'm saying that there is nothing wrong with people making earnings through predictions. And it is acknowledged worldwide. And Ghana is not the only country that supports the idea of betting. What's the rationale behind the establishment of the Gaming Commission, if I may ask? What's the essence? The government of Ghana agreed that there exists something like this. And betting companies have seen the regulations governing the betting, and they've penetrated into that platform. We have NLA.
I don't want us to stay on this any longer, because I was also going to ask you, while that exists, there also exists sin tax. And perhaps the government could have used that to cushion itself, particularly at a time when its revenue sources are very limited. But you chose the populist path that you want to appease the masses.
No. If you say we want to appease, it simply means that this is just a knee-jerk reaction.
But is it not?
No.
And you say 180 million cedis you expect from there.
No.
How many schools can that build?
You see, that's the mistake you are still coming back to the same. I'm saying that, one, the purpose of governance is already clear in the Constitution. Number two, we made it as part of our social contract with the people. You were following the campaign.
I did.
We promised Ghanaians that the next NDC government will abolish 10% withholding tax on bet winnings. We made it clear. At that time, all the political parties were converged on this particular tax handle.
Under pressure from the people.
No.
And I absolutely understand why you would want to do that. But let's move away from bet tax. We've stayed a very long time on bet tax. Now that you're learning more about this budget, is this the budget that is taking the people to the good fortunes that we all want, or there are some revisions you expect to be made?
So I would describe this budget as a very sensitive budget. It is more on consumption than production, as many analysts have said. And I subscribe to the idea that when you promote consumption, that increases the disposable income of households. They will still go back and purchase those industrial goods. So you are not doing anything bad, but at the same time cushioning our people. So I think that I am not surprised that there has been general acceptance of our budget. If you listen to Guta, despite them raising concerns of fiscal consolidation, like you just rightly said, on some of these tax handles that we have scrapped, many other experts have praised this budget. If you look at the trade union, if you look at the labor unions, they have all praised this budget as one of the best budgets that they have seen under our Fourth Republic. So to that end, I think that I don't expect much revision to the budget. Number two, I am not surprised people approve so much of this budget, or the approval rating is high, because this budget presentation was preceded by three main items that was key, and it consolidated the aspiration of our people. One, it was preceded by a national economic forum that brought every stakeholder who matter in our country to contribute as to how to build the future of our case. This budget was also preceded by what? The National Economic Dialogue that brought various sectors of our economy and all experts and stakeholders in the industry to contribute to nation building. And then the third one was the market visitations and also the engagement with the youth through the X platform by the Minister of Finance. So it was in reaction to the general concern of our people. So anything that is built on consensus means there's legitimacy and trust in it. And then number two also is because looking at the fiscal difficulties or look, before I comment on even the rationality of this budget, let's salute the sacrifices our bondholders, the standard creditors, and the Ghanaian people have made significant sacrifices for our country over the past 8 years through the domestic debt exchange program. We have come from a long way. We are still under an IMF program. So despite all these social interventions that the government plans to roll out, we are still mindful of fiscal consolidation and also our debt sustainability levels.
Right.
So for me, I don't expect much revision. I'm also rather expecting more clarity to some of the policy propositions. For example, this afternoon, Honorable Gusitano was in the chamber to explain more about the 24-hour economy. So you see that people are now beginning to appreciate what some programs that we said we will do. And
the abridged budgets which we had is very brief, about a paragraph on 24-hour economy. What new have you learned about how the budget will operationalize 24-hour economy?
So first of all, one, we have now learned critically that specific amendments will be done to the Ghana Investment Promotion Center that will ensure complete value chain from agriculture right up to exports. Two, we are also learning about the amendment to our Labour Act that will guarantee some, because if you look at our labor law, it prescribes the period people should work in a so now we have to do it to include the complete cycle of the 24 hours. We are also learning of the National Employment Fund that will merge
National Employment or Unemployment?
National Employment Trust Fund.
Okay.
And this is what it wants to do. One, it wants to consolidate all the employment agencies under one to keep performance trackers. For example, we will now have the Ghana Enterprise Agency under the National Employment Trust Fund. We'll also have the National Innovation and Entrepreneurship Program, which is the NEP, under that program. We also have the YE and all those employment agencies under this, so that in the exercise of promoting as Ghana Export as a related authority, we will be mindful of how many jobs has been churned out as a result of promoting a 90 economy. So people have now learned that. We have also been told of the amendment of our electricity company in terms of standard performance regulations 2199 that talks about how much is supposed to charge per industrial use through the smart metering program that we are bringing for companies that subscribe onto the 24-hour economy. From beginning, we have always made it clear that the 24-hour economy is an export-led import substitution by the private sector. It has been clear from day one. So they were expecting to see a budget line in the budget that says 24-hour will spend so much in 24-hour. No, we are creating an environment that will make it feasible for companies to operate 24. And these are some of the legislation that government wants to bring on board. And then the stimulus packages. Government is also earmarking a seed fund that will make sure that people that partake in the 24-hour program will get a lot of tax incentives and tax breaks and tax rebates. All these things are aimed at, in fact, he gave an example of soya. We farm soybeans. We rather export it raw. People process it into oil and milk, and then they returned the milk and the oil back to our country for us to consume. Government is saying that is why, for the purposes of this particular policy, government has added agribusiness to the Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Right.
So right from production of soybeans, it is good. We'll have processing plants across the country, and then it will be processed into milk and also oil for our domestic consumption. Then you look at the idea of Nkoko and Kitinkiti project. It is still fixing part of this because we are doing.
It's also under
yes.
So then, what did the presenter say is the allocation for the offtake of the 24-hour economy? Because we don't know that from the abridged budget.
So I'm saying that you won't see a budget line on it because it's multi-sectorial intervention. It's a program that looks at the economy holistically. So for example, okay, go ahead.
So the budget for running Guzi Tano's office,
yes,
will be captured with the presidency.
Office of the Government Machinery.
Office of the Government
which
Machinery.
is already clear.
Oh, okay.
But we are saying that that secretariat is in charge of providing that environment for private sector to do what? To take advantage of. We are doing the farm to table and then farm for export. That is the poultry farm. One of the critical problems that they face is cost of feeding. Is that not it? And then the health issues of our poultry. So government is intensifying, making sure that we improve maize production in the country through the establishment of the Farm Service Center. That's what I'm saying. You will not see a budget line 24 hours. But we are deliberately doing projects and programs and creating an environment that will make it necessary for companies to participate in that sphere.
And these projects have already been allocated
in various, for example, the Farm Service Center. We are making sure that every farming district will have tractors, combined harvesters, fertilizers, and all those things to farm for people. And it is part of the agriculture for economic transformation agenda, where we have allocated 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to support that initiative. We have the Feed Ghana program, and we have the Vegetable Development program, and all those things. For example, sanitary pass. We are allocating 292 million Ghana cedis for sanitary pass.
But that's not under the
No, I'm just coming. I'm just telling you something.
Right.
Ghana currently is able, our local consumption, or how much of our local produced sanitary pads consumed in our country is only 18%. The remaining 82% is imported. Now, there's a company in Ghana, in Accra here, Botiano English, that can produce to satisfy our domestic consumption. In order to reduce the pressure on our exchange rate, government can set up those factories that can produce sanitary pads locally and also increase taxes on sanitary pads that are imported into the country to make it more expensive for people.
So I take it as you will be maintaining the tax waivers that the previous administration granted on raw materials for people who produce sanitary pads
locally.
You are maintaining
those
that.
things.
Okay.
But now under an accelerated program. You see, if you remember, I was not against the idea of one district, one factory. But the notion was wrong because they needed to do an investment appraisal in every district to know which company is viable. If you remember, for example, Sagnerigu, we didn't have any factory because if you say one district, one factory, it means that every district should have a factory.
Absolutely.
So that is not the type of governance we want to run. Such that you make slogans of things without or put cost items to things when you know you cannot do. So we want the private sector to lead that discussion.
I see. There are a host of things I want us to talk about, and we've gone over the 24-hour economy, but let's stick with agriculture, right? The northern part of the country, the mainstay for that part of our country is agriculture. What is in this for the people of the north to alleviate poverty, to improve the lives of farmers there?
So first of all, I've already stated that we are introducing this concept of the Farm Service Center. All parts of northern Ghana will benefit from it in their district. So issues, because at a cost of acre now is 200 Ghana cedis, and government is intervening now to do it for you for free. You get it. So you are reducing production costs to feed into the output market. What a bag of, once you farm for them, you give them subsidized fertilizers, you give them subsidized equipment to work, it means that the output that they will produce for our market will be lower. Is that not it? Because what normally feeds into a bag of maize will depend on how much they use to produce that bag of maize. Now, government is intervening in that value chain to make cost of production very cheaper. So it means that our output prices in the market will also go down. So the Farm Service Center is one area that I think it will help us. Number two is the Ghana Exim Bank. Now we are doing...
But let me slow you down a bit because I've heard some of the things you've spoken about. Specifically for the northern part of the country, irrigation is the biggest problem.
Yes.
Your budget is quiet on irrigation.
It is not.
It's not? What does it say on irrigation?
In fact, we have allocated 86 million Ghana cedis for irrigation, the Ghana Irrigation Development Agency, to make sure that we'll start over with the Palugo Dam that these people spent so much that we didn't get. We are not doing the idea of one village, one dam, but we have existing dams. When dug properly, we'll make sure that agriculture can be all year round. So that the concept.
So you will conclude
we'll continue with that program that they started with the Palugu Dam.
Okay.
And many other dams that we have in mind to expand.
So you continue with the
irrigation project.
Yeah, I mean there was one slogan like that.
Palugu.
No, there was
one village, one dam. No, we are not continuing one village, one. You won't
do one village, one dam.
Yeah, because
but then how would you make it equitable across the region?
So if you look at
regions.
If northern region, for example, we have one at Dalang, we have one at Paza that can serve those two stretch. You go to the upper regions, they have major ones that you can do to solve their problem. You see, when you equitably distribute something that will be less impactful, what's the relevance of it? For example, one village, one dam. In my constituency, they dug 7 dugouts. As we speak, no water is there. So is it for the optics of it, or is it for the populist nature of the policy? That matters. No, it's the impact, I think, that should matter.
And I agree with you. So what I'm trying to understand is the 86 million cedis you said, is it dedicated to the construction and completion of the Palugu Dam, or this will go into smaller dams across the regions?
No, I think there are about 19 dams that they want to do. But I'm just saying that the Palugu Dam will not be abandoned. Though there's already an investigation into the $12 million that was spent on the construction of that dam. But I'm saying that many other dams across the northern Ghana is being considered. Right. And agri is a priority now, because we are talking about the Feed Ghana program. With the Feed Ghana program, it means that you have to what? Increase production. So I think that President Mahama takes serious concerns when it comes to the welfare of our farmers. And me as a farmer, because I do soybeans production. So if I am aware that in northern Ghana we will now have a processing plant that right after from the farm, it can be processed into oil and it can be processed into milk. So it will reduce a lot. One of the problems, look, if you look at our debt, what is ballooning our debt is not because we borrow every day. What is ballooning the debt is the exchange differential. Because if, for example, Keminni, if you borrow at 15 cedi today, and you borrow $100, and today's rate is 15, and you are expected to pay next week. If you had converted it today, the 15 and $100 would have been 1,500 Ghana cedis. Is that not it? But next week, the dollar has increased to 20. Even though the value of the debt in dollar term hasn't changed, but the repayment will what? Increase because the cedi is depreciating. So it will now move to 2,000 Ghana. So you've added 500 Ghana cedis more onto your debt without necessarily borrowing. So government is prioritizing making everything possible to make sure that we reduce our importation. That's all we want to do. For example, if you remember, we are trying to establish the gold board with the aim of making sure that we sell more of our gold as a country to get more forex.
Right.
You get it? Number 2, we are trying to do the FX fixed rate regime, where we know that those that use more dollars are the fuel sector, those who import refined oil, fuel. For example, they need more dollars to bring their refined products. So government is saying that for over the next three weeks, you are buying it at, Bank of Ghana will give it to you at 12. So there's that level of certainty for planning. Then we're also talking about the 24-hour economy. That seeks to do import substitution. So these are overall policies government is putting in place to make life better for
I
our
absolutely
people.
agree with you, Honorable. I don't doubt that. But the reason I want us to look at northern specific provisions in the budget as you have seen it, because what we have is the abridged version, is because, you know, a lot of times the argument has been that the budget seems to benefit the south of the country much more than the north of the country. The problems are not the same. They're similar, but they're not the same. Like what we have identified with our Greek right now. And so let's take just a little bit more on the north, and then we'll come back to the general issues.
All right.
Okay. So on our Greek, you have told us that some
the
19...
Farm Service Center and
the Farm Service Center. So we expect that the Farm Service Centers will deal with the issue of bridging the gap between harvest on the farms. So it will cut post-harvest losses. You expect it to do that. And so how many farm service centers will be across the northern part of the country?
In fact, it is not specific because they said every farming district. And for Northern region, you should know, apart from maybe the Tamale constituency or Bolga or something. Even in Tamale, we have farmers everywhere. So I expect that every district within the 5 Northern regions should be beneficiaries of it.
That will be amazing.
Yeah.
But how would this... So there will be that farm centers. I want the farmer who is watching right now, or the young person who wants to go into farming, understand how that will improve their lives. How will that increase money in their pockets? Explain that to us.
Okay, so when a farm service center is established in your district, what first of all it will do is that the average price of acre of land, 200 Ghana cedis that you used to pay, will now be left onto your pocket because you don't need to pay for an acre of land. Number two, it removes that rigidity for people unable to do more acres. If I know an acre costs 200 Ghana cedis, I have capacity to only pay 600 Ghana cedis, meaning I can only farm for 3 acres. But I had willingness to have cultivated about 10. So what government is saying is that we will bring you tractors that will farm for you for free. That's number one. Number two, under the Planting for Food and Jobs that the previous government did, rather led to an increase in fertilizer cost. Because President Mahama time, a bag of fertilizer was 70 Ghana cedis. President Akufo-Addo time, it jumped to 500 Ghana cedis. Now President Mahama is saying that he will bring the fertilizer to you at a subsidized price at the farm service center. So you don't need to bring cash to pay the fertilizer. What you need to do is that we register you onto the program, then we'll give you the fertilizer. When you cultivate and harvest and sell onto the market and you want to benefit next year, nobody will tell you to come and pay that subsidized cost to government. Do you get the point? So it's in a way...
So they will get fertilizer on loan, on credit.
On credit at a subsidized rate. Then the next challenge that people face a lot is harvesting period. For example, this whole idea of the one that does rice, combined harvesters. Sometimes some owners will tell you that for every 10 bags they do for you, they are entitled to 1 bag. Government is now giving that facility for you at free of charge for you to increase production, and nobody will take any bag of rice for you. And then we are now trying to intensify more on public education, because oftentimes what occasions our food insecurity is not just the fact that we don't produce a lot, but we destroy a lot of urban lands. For example, at this period, bush burnings everywhere. So it kills the nutrients and the manure level on the land. So when you do, you don't get the desired yield that you want. So government is trying to intensify public education and all those things to make sure that people understand the concept of agriculture, its relevance to our nation's building, and its relevance to poverty reduction. So these are some of the measures the government is putting in place to ensure that the farmer at the production level gets things at a lower cost.
I mean, obviously, if that be the case, the farmers will be happy about it, especially in Sagnerigu, where agriculture is also really important.
It's
key to the people.
If you look at the Tamale 4 constituencies, I think I have more farming communities.
So, but I've also seen the composite budget of a few of these districts, right? We expect, based on what the abridged version says, that 80% of IDF will be given back to the people. Now, considering how decentralized the approach towards mechanizing agriculture is, as you have explained, what role will that IGF be playing to make it better for the farmers?
Okay, so in my municipal, for example, we intended to do an industrial park and also a warehousing project. Because one of the key problems that we observe is that oftentimes the farmer produces the good, brings it to the market at the time of the bumper harvest period. The person buys the bag of maize for 200 Ghana cedis. That person has the capacity to go and save it at some place. 4 or 5 months down the line, the person sells it for 600 Ghana cedis. The person who actually farmed gets 200 Ghana cedis. But a person who just bought and has a storage capacity is selling it for 600 Ghana cedis, making a net profit of 400 Ghana cedis on somebody's labor. So what we are trying to say is that, one, we'll make sure that we'll construct the warehousing schemes that will provide an environment or space for farmers to bring their produce after harvest. So they will remove the one that will be used for sustenance in their homes and bring the remaining one at the warehousing. And then the second leg is the industrial parks. That will make sure that you create an environment or a place where you can sell your product. So if you come to an industrial park, what it means is that every facet of social life is there. So it serves as like a market where every product can be sold under the industrial market. Then we can even get exportable products out of that. The people those who want to export goods and services knows that if they come to Sagnerigu, the industrial park is located, say, Koani, and they can easily go there and buy the goods and go and export. So this President Mohammed's regime, I'm particularly happy because the focus is no more on just production, but the focus is on production and value chain additions.
Indeed. When we come back from this break, I want us to also look at other peculiar issues like infrastructure, in education, roads, because you're bringing back road tolling and the likes. Meanwhile, some of the roads there are terrible.
Yeah.
And so I want you to break down those issues, including what you have learned about the big push.
Yeah.
Because that's where infrastructure sits.
Yeah.
Don't go away. You're watching Hot Issues, and this week we are discussing the Ghana we want as dictated by the 2025 inaugural budget of the current NDC administration. With me in the studio is Honorable Attah Issah, Member of Parliament for Sagnerigu. He's also a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. Honorable, again, thank you so much for talking to us.
Welcome.
Another issue of importance to the people of the North, we have education, we have roads, and general infrastructure, so to speak. So I want us to capture all of that under the Big Push program.
Okay.
What specific projects will the $10 billion indeed will go into?
Okay, so the Big Push agenda simple means is that we will identify critical infrastructure needs of every municipality, metropolitan, and the district. So it is not specifically targeted at one area. So that you say it's education, or it's health, or it's roads. So depending upon the needs assessment that is done in your municipality, or your district, or your metropolitan, they will be able to identify critical infrastructure that will facilitate our overall economic objectives. But coming specifically to the question on education, not necessarily the big push. We have, through the budget, you can see many innovative programs that are coming to help our educational sector. For example, under the previous regime, they did what we call the Capping and the Realignment Act 2017, where statutory funds like the GET Fund was used, first of all, to support the annual budget funding amounts and also to collateralize and borrow more. So Get Fund, that had a principal responsibility to make sure that they improve our educational needs in terms of infrastructure, renovation, and building of new school and classroom blocks. They could not function because it was debt distress. Because of the change in government, what we are now saying is that, in fact, I came with the bill under the, you see it here. So what we seek to do is that we are uncapping the capping and the realignment, and we are abolishing that concept. By uncapping, it simply means that we will free a lot of resources. And one of the challenges in northern Ghana, for example, apart from the affordability component that the MPP tried to do, is the issue of access. Because if you come to some constituencies in northern region, they still don't have secondary schools. Some still study under trees. We still have issues on textbooks. We have issues on learning materials and even the learning environment. Some people don't have science labs and all those challenges. That is why President Mahama is freeing this statutory fund to make sure that it is dedicated to making sure that we increase access and quality. Look, over the last 8 years, one of the problems northern region we have always faced is the pass rate. It always drops. And the reason is not because the people are not intelligent. In the first place, we don't have adequate infrastructure. Yet, you will not give us textbooks to even learn. You only give us past questions. What have I learned that I can use past questions that would be beneficial to me? Education is a shared responsibility. That is government and then the parents. The cancellation or weakening the PTA system in the last regime was a bad decision. So the reintroduction of the PTA system will promote a lot of good learning outcomes and improve the welfare of our students.
Right. So let's take it one at a time. Right. During the budget presentation, the uncapping we understand will create some 4.1 billion cedis for you. The 4.1 billion cedis we are told will fund the free senior high school.
Yes.
And what are you outlining for infrastructure?
It is through the big push that I said. I'm saying that the big push is supposed to address critical infrastructure depending upon your district.
No, I mean education infrastructure. That's
so, for example, we are saying that we are going to complete all the E-blocks that was abandoned over the last 8 years.
Okay.
And
was that captured in the budget?
Yeah, it was captured in the budget. Even today, they reiterated it at the post-budget conference.
Okay.
We are going to complete all the E-blocks that was started. If you remember, in 2016, before President Mahama left office, we had started about 123. As at the time we were handed over, we had completed 46 of them. The MPP government also did well by completing some up to about 70. We still have a lot in the bushes that are not completed.
So you will complete them?
So we'll complete them. And then not only the completion, we are making sure that we'll add boarding facilities to some of them that are distant from the community or distant from the district capital. We'll make sure that we add accommodation to it. And then the second one is also, we are trying so hard in order, if you look at basic education, we are redefining the concept of basic education by making sure that people can understand what they want to become in future right from the basic level by introducing the guidance and counseling models and then the psychology and philosophy models at the basic level to facilitate career development. Oftentimes, people change their mind going through school because of lack of funding. So I wanted to become a medical doctor, but because I can't afford medical school, I'm now going to do another course. Right. Government wants to make sure that we eradicate those challenges in the educational sphere. That will make sure that we explore the full potential of our people by introducing, first of all, free tertiary education for people with disability. I'm sure you are aware of that.
Yes.
And also the no-fee stress policy that will make sure that admission fee in northern region is a big challenge. As a member of parliament, I can tell you, when schools are open or when admissions come, about 40% to 50% of the people that gain admission cannot get admission fee to pay. We members of parliament always get letters, admission letters every day from our constituents. So this is coming to reduce a lot of financial burden on our families.
No, so I don't doubt that.
So in infrastructure development, thankfully, President Mahama has appointed an education minister who also started a school from the northern region and many other deprived communities that face similar peculiarities. And he has promised, first of all, to improve infrastructure at the basic level, modernize our science laboratories and our laboratories for the home economic students, also increase the teacher-to-student ratio, that is good, according to the SDGs, we are nowhere close to 8. We'll make sure that we increase the number of classroom blocks. And in the budget, they are promising to construct more than 2,000 3-unit classroom blocks across the country over the next 2 years. So this means that access will become a thing of the past in terms of inadequate access.
Right.
People standing under trees
so
and
the
all
breakdown,
those things.
the breakdown, you mean people learning under trees?
Yes.
Right. So the breakdown that you have, what I'm asking is, what are the allotments for the northern part of the country where these schools under tree are more prominent?
Okay, so for now, sitting here, I cannot tell you regional allocations.
Right.
So, but I'm just looking at it from the global picture, because until they come to the education subcommittee, you will not be able to tell how much is going to northern region, Upper East. You will not be able to tell. But even the policy intention or the rationality behind those policies is enough for you to be aware that it is coming to ease the burden on families. So that alone is enough for me. But I know northern region will receive a chunk, considering our educational gap.
The northern part of the country.
Northern part of the country, because southern part of this country, you know that they have more school facilities, they have more quality education outcomes here. They have a lot of facilities that we don't have in the northern part of the country. So I have no doubt that it will help more.
So again, forgive me, I'm trying to understand the Big Push program.
Okay.
All these sectoral infrastructure programs will be funded by this $10 billion from the Big Push?
Yes.
Or we have specific things that the Big Push will be doing outside of these ones?
So one, it seeks to, for example, you know this government started the Agenda 111. Areas that we know that healthcare is an issue, that they don't have access to healthcare.
Just roll back a little bit. The government of the day has said it will continue Agenda 111.
Yes.
But you said started. I just wanted to clarify that.
So what we seek to do is that some municipalities or districts still don't have access to quality healthcare. So the Big Push this year, out of the 10 billion, we have allocated 13.8 billion Ghana cedis under the Big Push program. So some municipalities will get it in terms of health. Some will get it in terms of education.
That is what the Big Push is.
Do you get the point? Critical. That's why it is not really targeting at one area for every district. It is targeted at the most pressing critical infrastructure that a district needs. That is what you use to do for them. And for example, if you come to our place, we don't have a district hospital. So in Sagnerigu, our priority will be to complete our Agenda 111 for us. But depending on the needs assessment that is conducted by the Ministry of Health or by the Education Ministry, they will tell which one is critical infrastructure that is needed at any district.
And you say it's 13.8
billion.
13.8 billion cedis
for this
from
year.
That $10 billion.
Yes, for this year.
And you know, the way you explain the Big Push, it would appear that the MMDAs will play a crucial role in analyzing what is needed in their communities or in their municipalities or district as it is. And
they will complement the Big Push because more allocations are not going to the MMDAs. If you know, right. we usually spend 80%. We usually send less than 50% even to the assemblies. Now government is promising to send about 80% directly into the assembly's account. That means that they will have more income resources other than IGFs to do critical issues confronting their districts and municipalities. So I think it's also an innovative thing we must commend the government for, because they capped the DACF that time. So it means that some Zoom Lion and other companies are paid from Accra before it gets to the assemblies. Now, government is saying that every assembly should know their needs. So you get out of the 5% by law that is mandated to be transferred into the DACF, government is saying that 80% of your allocation will be sent directly into the assembly by the finance minister. So it doesn't need to pass through the DACF before it comes to the assemblies. So I think it's an innovative financial re-engineering that seeks to improve critical needs of our people at the lower level.
So I take it as, you know, it will be the same with roads.
Yes.
But road tolling in the northern region, what does that look like? In the northern part of the country, excuse me.
The idea of the road tolls, I think financial viability and commercial viability should be a critical factor before you think about tolling a road. I'm not sure the Minister of Roads and Highways' intention was to just make sure that every road that they construct, they must necessarily toll it. You must look at the very issues that confront the people.
But the road must pay for itself.
Yes.
Won't it be easier if we did that?
No, but you see, you look at the economic situation of the people and the commercial viability, like I said, in those places that you are doing the roads. In some remote areas, most roads are linking, for example, those going to Burkina Faso. After Bolga, the communities that you meet there, you cannot tow a road and expect those people in the community to also, when they are using that road, they should pay, because they will find it difficult to pay. So sometimes it is not always a straitjacket policy that every road that you do, you must tow. But it's a good concept of reintroducing the road tolls, because in terms of road maintenance, sometimes it is always mind-boggling the amount of money we spend in constructing roads. Anytime I drive around the Tema motorway, I ask myself, a visionary president who once constructed these roads in the 1950s or 60s, that road is still there. Then we will construct a road for 7 years, then we need maintenance. And also...
So, I mean, we'll see how this will be operationalized when it comes to the workshops
yes.
you're having.
No, but...
I haven't heard anything on road yet, or was it discussed?
No, it was
already?
also discussed.
Okay.
It was
so
also
we
discussed.
know how we are going to operationalize
yes, through the technology that we want to use.
Have we chosen the technology
No, we
already?
haven't. You know, it is after the budget is approved.
But we've put some money on it already?
Yes, they've put amount that they expect from that.
How much is it?
I think 7 billion or so.
I see. On the technology to...
no,
for the road tolling
that technology. They will get.
Oh, not the revenue. I'm talking about the road tolling technology.
I know where you are.
Do we know how much we're spending
on
it?
I don't know.
Even the budget is quiet on that
yes.
as well.
But
then how would we spend on it if we are not putting it in the budget at this time?
No, but you see, it is not everything that you can get every line item in a particular ministry or department.
But that is the blind spot of our budgets. The fact that when we say something, we do not capture how much it would
okay,
earn for a number of things. And one of your presenters mentioned that.
I'll get it for you.
Just two things before you go. Is this budget realistic?
Very, very realistic. And if you look at our short to medium term macroeconomic objectives, we intend to grow at 4.4%, end year inflation at 11%, primary balance of positive 1.5%. These are macro targets that are even below the industry expectation. If you remember, the minority keeps on saying that they grew by 5.7% and we want to grow by 4%. So it tells you that we are a government that is modest, that considers the plight of the people. We prefer that the outturns should speak more than our projections. And I have no doubt that we will achieve most of the things we say we will achieve. I have no doubts. We
look forward to that. Sure. Thank you so much. I'm out of time. We can't go any further.
No problem.
But it's been a very insightful conversation with you. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Sure. Thank you too, and I'm grateful.
Indeed. Honorable Attah Issah is Sagnerigu MP. He's also a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament. We've been looking at the Ghana we want as dictated by the 2024-2025 budget as presented in Parliament only last week. I'm Keminni Amanor. This is Hot Issues. We'll be back with another enthralling episode next week. Bye-bye.